Hey guys, it's Quana. I'm back with another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. All right, so this was going to be a doozy. We finally made it to the movie theater to see Wonka after trying to get there since December. And I have thoughts, I have opinions. And if you stumble on this video, then I am going to assume that either you've already seen it and you too have thoughts and opinions, or that you're wanting to know if you should watch it and you want some thoughts and opinions to help you make a decision. So hopefully this video will give you what you need. And if it does, do me a favor and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and come back for, lots and lots of more content, because we're in the business of making videos over here. So finally went to see Wonka literally just yesterday. Took the kids, and spoiler alert, the kids loved it. I've got 3, all under the age of 10, and they adored it. So there you go. If you are looking to take this movie, or take your family to this movie, there's a good chance your kids will enjoy it. But if you are like me and you are a millennial who grew up on the 1971 classic starring Gene Wilder, you're probably wondering what to think, or wondering if you should watch this movie. And let's just go ahead and give you the synopsis. All right, so Wonka, starring Timothy Chalamet and Kala Lane, is about the young Willy Wonka, who is an aspiring young chocolatier. He travels to start his first business, and he is facing the chocolate cartel led by Slugworth. You remember Slugworth from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory 1971 version. And he has to defend his right to make chocolate, because yeah, why not? And along the way, he meets some new friends and he establishes himself, and we meet the very first Oompa Loompa that he encounters, played by Hugh Grant. Yeah, that Hugh Grant, from Notting Hill, who we all fell in love with, along with Julia Roberts at the time, or 9.5 Weeks, that Hugh Grant. The film also stars Olivia Colman, Michael Key, Joseph Patterson. Scratch that, reverse it. Patterson Joseph. If you're not familiar with Patterson Joseph, he plays Slugworth. He is from one of my all-time favorite apocalyptic series that were really big in the 2000s called Survivors. It was a British 2-season series, I believe. It was on Netflix. I believe it's still on Netflix. You can probably find it there. So good. Mwah, chef's kiss. He's a wonderful actor. Who else is in it? Natasha Rothwell, Jim Carter, Rowan Atkinson, Tom Davis. It's got a ton of people in it. So it was directed by Paul King. And if you're not familiar with Paul King, he directed Paddington and the Paddington sequel. He's also about to film, or currently working on, Paddington in Peru. Ooh la la. And let's just talk about the movie, okay? Shall we? So the film starts with Wonka, young Timothy Chalamet. He is on a boat and he arrives in the city. Of Galleries Gourmet. Well, that is where this shopping area is. I don't really know if the city is there. It's kind of like unknown Europe. Unknown city in Europe is basically the destination. And he arrives because his mother has told him that if he's ever going to make it a chocolatier, this is where he has to establish his business. Now, pause, because yes, I said mother, because this version of Wonka is not a spinoff, like I thought it was, of the 2005, 2010, I don't know what year it was, but it was the Tim Burton version starring Johnny Depp. This is not a prequel for that version. Instead, it's more of a prequel to the 71, but also more of a prequel to the book. And so the lore is completely different. Willy Wonka has a mother. His mother taught him to love chocolate, and he wants to be a chocolatier. And she tells him, if you want to be a chocolatier, you got to go to Galleries Gourmet, because that is where the best chocolate in the world is. And so he arrives. Now, when we meet him, he is already capable of magical gifts and talents. He is already the best. He can do anything with chocolate. And he very quickly finds himself without money and in a bad, shady living arrangement and a bad business deal that goes wrong, and it looks like hope is lost. He's going to have to figure out a way to earn money to free himself from the clutches of this woman who is renting him a room slash she's a laundromat owner, basically, played by Olivia Colman, who is playing a very like Emma Thompson-esque type of Mrs. Scrubbit. I forgot her name. I just kept thinking the whole time, this feels like an Emma Thompson role. And while he's there, he meets the character of Noodle, played by a young Kala Lane, who is the little black girl from the trailer. If you've seen the trailer reaction video that I did, I'll post it here. It was pretty funny. I thought so anyway. And they hatch a plan to help Willie to become a chocolatier, but also to free themselves and the other inhabitants of this establishment from the clutches of Mrs. Scrubbit. And these inhabitants are played by Natasha Rothwell and Jim Carter. Is it Jim Carter? Jim Carter. We like Jim Carter, okay, from Downton Abbey. We like him. And he is very, very adorable in this movie, if I might say so. Along the way, Willy Wonka also has to defend himself from the clutches of the evil police. So this is very anti-establishment, I must say. For the people who always like to, oh my gosh, it's so woke. This is very much giving. It's very much giving Willy Wonka went woke. Which is what I probably should title this thumbnail. And as you can imagine, he eventually, goes on his journey to become Willy Wonka. Let me tell you my thoughts of this movie. I literally could not concentrate on this movie because right here in this noggin lives the umpteen thousand times that I have seen the Gene Wilder adaptation or have read the book. And I was trying to contend with the lore so much that I could not focus and I could not pay attention to this movie. Now, the reason why I say it's a prequel is because they pay homage to that 71 version by using music from that 71 version. So Pure Imagination is in here. The jingle from the Oompa Loompa song is in here, and they rely heavily on those because, in my opinion, the other songs are your more traditional musical songs that just tell the narrative and tell what the characters are feeling, and they don't have the same replay value as those original songs. By the way, little trivia fact that I did not know, but those original songs were co-written, at least, by Anthony Newell. And if you don't know who Anthony Newell is, you maybe never saw the original Dr. Dolittle starring Rex Harrison, because Anthony Newell was in that movie. Anthony Newell, if you've ever seen the 1990 film Polly, starring a young Keisha Knight-Pulliam from The Cosby Show and Felicia Rashad, and its sequel, Polly Coming Home, Anthony Newell was also in Polly Coming Home as the headmaster of the orphanage where young Jimmy Bean went to school. Just a little fun trivia fact for you. But he was big in musical theater, which is why those songs were so daggone catchy. And I definitely didn't feel as though there was anything new brought to the table with regards to the songs. So there's that. Now, let's talk about the magical fantasy elements of it. This film relies very heavily on CGI. It feels like there are virtually no practical elements at all in this film. And of course, we know that that's not true. There's practical elements all around. There's costumes, there's staging, there's sets, but the bulk of the sets are CGI. This is a huge departure from what I think people loved about the 71 version, and the major criticism of that Tim Burton version was that it rested so heavily on CGI. So in my opinion, most people didn't like that version better, because when you saw that 71 version, when they entered the chocolate factory, right, the chocolate room, and the chocolate fall, and all of the plants were edible, everything was edible, everything looked good and lush, and there was real whipped cream that you could scoop up with your hand and you could eat. My literal favorite scene is when there's a lemon tulip cup, and he picks it up, and it's a cup and saucer with like lemonade or something in it, some sweet beverage, we don't know what it is, but he sips it, and he says, and he breaks the song down into pieces, and then he bites it. That is my favorite part of that movie, I promise you it is. There is an homage to that moment, by the way, in this movie, so I can appreciate that, but like nothing looked like you could actually eat it. When you finally make it into his shop, nothing looks like it's actually edible. And I just kept thinking, gosh, movies are so expensive to make now. It probably would have been just easier. Now, I get it. You can't have real confection. That's why there are props. I don't understand why at one point there's supposed to be cotton candy clouds. Why are we just not making real clouds? Like out of cotton balls. Why is that CGI? Because nothing about that. And then have someone pick up an actual piece of cotton candy and stick it in their mouth. Why is that CGI? That makes no sense. So nothing felt like you could actually eat it. And then the things that were edible just looked regular. Like I could go into the candy shop right now and get them. And the biggest issue I have is that as a prequel, there were things that Willie was introducing the children to that are in both the book and that 71 version, and they were new. They were new inventions that he was working on. But the magic and the ability and what he was able to create in this was basically bigger than any of those things. So where does he lose that ability? We don't know. He suddenly has magical ability. He didn't have magic in that one. He was just really smart and clever and ingenious. But suddenly he has literal magic. We don't know where he gets this literal magic from. I don't know. It just is there, and he can just make stuff happen. Like he literally puts together a chocolate store in like one night. Now you remember the 71 version? You have the chocolate factory that we're told he shut down and he had to develop for like 10 years. Then they go inside and he has, the gum that he's developed that has the 3-course dinner that turns, I can't remember her name right now, but turns her into a blueberry. Then you have the golden eggs, the geese now this is something that is not his invention. He finds these magical geese and he brings them here and they lay these golden eggs because Willy Wonka was an imperialistic capturer who was like hunting animals and bringing them back, and they lay these golden eggs and Veruca salt. In the actual book though, they were squirrels with giant acorns or something like that, and they were like bad nuts. There's the wallpaper that they can lick and it tastes like whatever they're licking. The snozberries taste like snozberries. You remember that part? The fizzy lifting drink, I mentioned it in the trailer video. So that part really kind of bugged me. Now, that aside, the story is solid. It's solid enough. You can work with that. It feels very much like just what we're getting right now in this realm of getting fantasy films. It doesn't feel fresh per se, but it's solid. It's a solid story. Like from beginning to end, what he has to go through, the antics of the bad guys, and there's tons of bad guys. There's bad guys galore in this movie. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's tons of bad guys. There's literally like 8 bad guys that he has to defeat, which is very different because in the original, the children and their bad behavior were the bad guys. In this, it's definitely the adults are the bad guys. Capitalism is the bad guy. In this, debt is the bad guy. The police are the bad guys. The establishment is the bad guys. I don't know. Well, I will say it was colorful. It was pretty. Was Timothy Chalamet, Gene Wilder, charismatic? No, he wasn't that, boo. I'm so sorry for us. He was not that. He didn't feel Wonka enough. I couldn't figure out how this guy becomes that guy. And it felt like he was really, like he himself was having a really hard time divorcing his own mind, I think, from both versions that are currently in existence, because this was not supposed to be a prequel to the Tim Burton version. But I think he had a very difficult time divorcing himself from that version, so it feels like you're getting a mix of both of those people instead of a person who would have turned into Gene Wilder. Not to mention that Gene Wilder is a recluse, like Willy Wonka is a recluse, and this Willy Wonka loves people. So it's really difficult to understand how this Willy Wonka becomes that. Yeah, so music was okay. It was kind of subpar, but you can make it through it. It's nothing like atrocious. The CGI, it was decent CGI. It just didn't give what it needed to give. The acting was great. I will say though that most of the supporting cast, in my opinion, actually outshined Timothée Chalamet's performance, especially Jim Carter as like an accountant who helps him to figure out things like the money. Olivia Colman, like I said, I felt very much like an homage to Helena Bonham Carter or Emma Thompson. I could have seen either one of those ladies be in this role and it would have been perfectly fine, but she was great because she's Olivia Colman. Keegan-Michael Key felt very much like his character from Jingle Jangle, so that was kind of like, I thought Patterson Joseph was good, and all of the men who played the Chocolatier Cartel, I thought that they were really good. Kala Lane, no notes. She was good. She's good. She's playing your average, though smart, sassy black girl. So there's that. And Natasha Rothwell is playing the grown-up version of that. So there's that. Rowan Atkinson is in it for like that much, but he's Rowan Atkinson, and when he's on the screen, you're drawn to him as well. Yeah, just if you have a day to kick your kids, you can go see it. If it's on TV and it's screening and you need something to put on so that they will watch it and sit down, they'll probably watch it and sit down. If your kids are fans of the 71 version, like to the point where they really know the story, they will probably be like me, or maybe I'm a little bit near of that version, because I really just couldn't focus in this movie because I was so frustrated by how much the lore changed. So, question of the night: have you seen Wonka? Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below in the comments. And I will see you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. Yeah, if you have questions, let me know. I am a font of Willy Wonka knowledge. So by all means, have at it. I'll see you guys next time. Toodles.